Hi, friends. I'm host Eric. I'm the host Talking with Friends People. And today, we are here to complain. So let's complain. I am super exhausted right now. Even though I got a decent kind of a number of hours of sleep last night. Did I get your email? I don't know. I haven't checked my email. I just got up. Oh, I feel so tore up. Like I need sleep, and you gotta go take Delilah to get her car this morning. Oh, whatever we want to complain about. We're just complaining. Hi, Joe. For all my chops busting about lawnmower making all these generalized statements about women, one generalized statement about women that I've made before is that women like to complain. So that is one generalization that I've said before about women. But it's not women like to complain. It's your girlfriend likes to complain. I finally have a girlfriend who doesn't like to complain. This is the first girlfriend I've ever had that doesn't like to complain. But thank you, Winston. This morning I thought about making a thumbnail, but I decided not to. Generally, I try to make thumbnails nowadays. I was very happy with my "Let's pretend it's a TV show" thumbnail. I thought that one came out looking like a real thumbnail, like a real thumbnail maker made it or something. I think complaining is a function of FI. Of course, right? Isn't cancer related to? Oh, that's got to be FI. How about AIDS? That's FI too. It's like, name a bad thing in life, and I'll say, oh, that's probably related to FI. Sorry, Octavia. If it's any consolation, I'm sure I'm wrong. I hate to make Octavia Silva cry. That really makes me feel bad when I make Octavia Silva cry. And anybody who doesn't deserve to cry around here, it's Octavia Silva. Did I mention? I meant to tell you, Octavia Silva, especially since you were interested in asking about it, but that I've come around to your side of the equation on Killua. Killua is probably an INTP, not an ISTP. No, Lijo, I'm not saying you deserve to cry. I'm just saying it's your own fault that you make you cry all the time. Okay, so what changed my mind was him figuring out like when he's deducing, he's trying to figure out what's going on with the king and the royal guard, right? And he keeps coming up with all these possible ideas, and then eventually sort of deduces there must be a third party. The reason he injured himself is because of Mia. That whole story arc there. Okay, he's definitely doing a lot of ideation in that story arc. Of course, it's a cartoon character, and the character is an INTP with way more like SE than an INTP would really have. But the alternative is he's an ISTP with way more NE than an ISTP would really have. So I'm going to go with INTP for Killua. You think Gon's an ISTP? I think I keep wanting to say Gon's an ISFP. My first thought on Gon was he was an ESFP. But for some reason I've been finding myself leaning towards ISFP. I don't think Gon is not a T, that's for sure. Remember, when Gon is asked to think a lot, smoke comes out of his ears. This is Eric's party, and he's the only one who can cry and be seen with the tender emotions. And let me tell you, Lijo, my tenders are as damp as dewdrops with the moistness in my emotional heart. It's true. Don't spend time beating on a wall hoping to transform it into a door. Coco Chanel. Coco Chanel, that's Coco Chanel's way of saying, when you're wrong, don't double down. Okay, email that, Anthrax. That's true. That just because smoke comes out of his ears doesn't mean he's not a genius. He isn't a physical genius. He is a physical genius, I guess. But, I mean, what I was impressed with, what I'm most impressed with is Gon, all the things in the whole show, is how he handles Palm. And when he goes out with her and takes her on a date and stuff, that was just like, wow. That kid's really got it going on. He really is like, he understands. That's emotional intelligence, right? How emotionally intelligent is that was not for Delilah. That was for my ex-wife, ESFP, who liked stuff like that. That's definitely not ISTP. No, that's right. What's in parentheses? Total incorrect answer. Correct percentage 80%. Interesting. You didn't cherry pick your very hard, did you? You didn't go through the very hards and find one you could answer and then pick that one? One is a small sample size for very hards, but I appreciate you doing that. I really do. And it does show you that third slot can be quite effective. You know, my FE is not bad sometimes. Sometimes it can even be, in some ways, more effective than a dominant FE person. So it's important to remember your third slots plays a big role in your life. And if you're third slot NI, then you've got that intuition at your disposal. It just isn't your most native first place you leap to, you know? Like, when dealing with the world and your third slot function, you're likely to bring it to the party late, you know? Yeah, Freddie Forgiato, I think you were the one who was saying that before about the ESTJ and the ESFJ. So, I mean, I concede that obviously the RATS test is not as determinate as I would have hoped, but I don't necessarily know if the person you typed as ESFJ is actually ESFJ or not. Maybe. Abraham wasn't able to do it for shit. I haven't tried it on my dad who's ESTJ. People tend to complain about tiny annoyances and then pretend the real horrible things in life don't exist. Well, that's kind of understandable. It's like, who wants to focus on all the horrible things in life? That sounds pretty depressing. Did somebody leave a mysterious asterisk around? I always do find asterisk is extremely mysterious. What's it referring to? Okay, you know what time it is, right? It's pretty important time of day. That's right. Right. That's right. Why can't I see through it? That's right. It's time for my first bong rip of the day. Oh, Eric, you poor guy. You've gone such a long time between bong rips. I mean, the thing is, by having a good time at your meeting, the thing is, ISPs are very bright. There's no disputing that. It's just that the only people probably who are going to think ISTPs aren't really very smart are ENTPs because we're the supervisor type. Everybody else is going to go like, this guy's brilliant because, like I said in a video the other day, an ISTP is much more likely to get a perfect score on the ACT than an ENTP ever will, or the SAT or something like that, because as long as it's not a generative activity where they have to generate ideas, they're just lightning fast with their TI. So, and with that demonstrative SI, they can keep track of the components of stuff like an INTP can, basically. It's just that the only difference is they don't continue ideating beyond when it's useful, which INTPs do. You know, I mean, I'm inclined to trust your typing pretty Fortunato. You're not the first person who told me they have an ESFJ who's done well on that. I haven't. I don't have enough data to draw big conclusions about it. So I'm assuming you're right. You know that, but so in that case, the rat test probably doesn't link very clearly to any specific function. So I don't know. I still find it generally seems to link towards intuitiveness, but Octavia Silva's results would tend to belie that as well. So maybe I was just overly optimistic for that test linking to NI, trying to find some way to get a good NI test. You know, it would really help a lot if I had a good NI test. So just kind of hopeful that was going to be one, but probably not. Wishful thinking on my part, I guess. Cognitive development? What do you mean? Nurture? I mean, nurture is a factor, sure. Nurture is what makes it difficult to tell, is what makes it an art to tell cognitive functions. And the thing is, if in fact the cognitive function basic philosophy is right, then you should see more variation when between individuals of a type when SI is higher up in the stack. So it's like ISFJs really should be more different from each other, and put it this way: it should be more difficult to find like common behavioral correlates or belief or whatever correlates with SI DOMs, who it would seem would be more likely to pick up the values and mores of how they were raised. Right, so you see the least personal variation among ENFJs and ENTJs is that notion of SI being a particular knowledge function is significant in the question of how much you're influenced by nurture versus nature. Yeah, the functions are on axes, but it's kind of more correct to say they're on one of two axes. The 1-4 axis plays out differently than the 2-3 axis. So, every function is either part of the 2-3 axis or part of the 1-4 axis. One way or the other. The 5th and 8th are part of the 1-4 axis. The 6th and 7th are part of the 2-3 axis, right? So the reason it's important to distinguish between those two realities is 1-4 is clearly vision helper, but 2-3 is like habit and frame. It's different. Plays out differently. No, I mean, TE DOMs don't use FI that much in the sense that it's what I said with the 1-4. Is their FI is always subordinate to their TE. So since FI is most easily demonstrated when it's least purposeful, then lawnmower. Now, I'm pretty sure just the other day you were saying there was nothing as untrustworthy as an INFJ female. What about Hitler? He's not a woman. Is he more trustworthy than ENTJ women? Or because of those vaginas, those pesky vaginas are always causing women to be crazy. When will you women learn that your vaginas and hormones and stuff are what cause you to incur lawnmower's continual wrath? No, Cloud. Hero lamps were correct. So here is a multiple choice question: A or B? A, ENTJ. I'm right because these authors and other authorities agree with me and confirm my ideas. Or B, I'm right because I say so. The correct answer is A, and the incorrect answer is B. That's a nice, easy, straightforward one. Like, can we say for sure this about ENTJs? Yes. It may be vagina envy. I've always had my skepticism about this notion of penis envy. But Look, there's two kinds of He-Man Woman Hater Club people. There's only one of them are really He-Man Woman Hater Club people. Like there was a long time when I was what you might call puss shy. I was puss shy. So that means I was kind of scared of women and stuff, and didn't know how to deal with them. Okay? Or then you have a vaginophobe. A vaginophobe is someone who's always, every time there's a social problem or anything, they're going to link it back to how it's those damn ovaries and those damn hormones and those damn period bloods and stuff that are the problem. You know, that's what you call a vaginophobe. I was merely puss shy. I was never a vaginophobe, which means I didn't believe in my own viability as a sexual man, but I didn't blame chicks for it. That's the difference. It's fine to be puss shy, although it's totally unnecessary. It turns out it's totally unnecessary to be puss shy. You're leaving now? See you later. Women like to notice a man's energy more than his appearance and other shit than men do. Well, I mean, it really comes down to solidity of self-concept. To the extent that this is sort of, there are universal truths about men and women and their sexual relationships and stuff. It is true that women are attracted to men with a very secure self-concept or a very realized self-concept. For me, that took a lot of years to develop over time, a sense that I knew who I was, what I wanted, and I wasn't scared going through the world, you know? Being scared going through the world means well, it's like you're not sure you're not sure what the path is, you know? And you're not sure if you're let me backtrack a second. So probably everybody has felt the following thing at some point. Like concerned about getting in trouble, right? It's maybe more of an FE thing than an FI thing, but concerned about getting in trouble. So there's this lasting, deep and abiding sense in both Rachel and I, and both Rachel and me, I mean, that we're the ones who get in trouble, and other people are the ones who get us in trouble. So I think that's basically an FE frame reference, and the thing is, everybody, to some extent, worries about getting in trouble, which is to say, everybody worries that what they're doing might be wrong, might face general condemnation, or that they might later down the road regret it because they made a poor choice or something like that. Hi, Hobbs Brew. So the thing is, the problem is basically, it's like life affords you lots of instances of ambiguity, but until you have a frame regarding ambiguity in general, or at least until I had a proper frame regarding ambiguity in general, a proper metaframe, I could never be confident really that I knew what I was doing, or that somebody wouldn't catch me off guard, or that, you know, I had sort of imposter syndrome. Like, well, people are going to realize that I'm not really that smart, that I'm just faking it, that I'm just making this shit up as I go, blah, 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 right? Well, the answer is I'm not. I'm not faking it. I'm not. I am just making shit up as I go, but that doesn't mean I'm faking it. And I can have incredible faith in my ability to trust the correctness I have in any context. So it's like, I don't have to worry that somebody's going to say something I'm not going to know what the answer is, because my frames are inclusive enough that no matter what happens, it's going to be an example of something in subframe, yeah, frame, yeah. So I'll have already in place a means by which to deal with it. And ultimately, that's what women are attracted to in general. Is it's like there was that Woody Allen movie one time when he said, "Wouldn't it be great if neediness were a turn on?" And it's true. That would make the world so much more fair, right? If neediness were a turn on, then the most needy people would get the most action until they cease to be needy, in which case they would dry up. Diamond, I'm going to answer your question, even though it's not directed towards me. Is one type more prone to cheating than another? I tend to think there is a fuckboy-o-meter and horror-meter for that. I think your FI DOMs and tool users are most likely to cheat. Of course I think that, right? Everything bad is really affects FI. But I do tend to think that FI DOMs and tool users are the most likely to cheat. You think there's a sort of inconsistency for people to advocate for the destruction of the white male patriarchy and simultaneously fight for marriage equality? It would depend on their justifications for marriage equality. The only good argument for marriage equality is government involvement in marriage has rendered it a matter of public policy, and everybody has to be treated the same in public policy. So that means if I'm a heterosexual, means I get to marry a woman, then homosexual, they have to be able to marry a man, or else they're being denied equal access to the tax benefits, equal protection under the law. So it's a basic issue like that. That's why you should fight for marriage equality. If you think that you're fighting for the right of individuals to get married, that's silly. They've always been able to do that. It's always been the case that two gay men could get married. Nobody's ever stopped that. The problem is people have been bamboozled into thinking that marriage is an institution of the state because the state has made it one. So if people are arguing correctly, then there's no contradiction between wanting to destroy the white male patriarchy and marriage equality. But of course, people who believe both those things probably don't use the correct arguments for either. So, you shouldn't listen to them at all. They're just being toxic. That's the thing, is like groupist rhetoric and whatever fucking stupid manifestation it takes. It's always just people spewing toxic garbage into the metaphorical atmosphere of the marketplace of ideas, INFJs can be just as calculated. No INFJ ever did it. You know what? They do occasionally do something accidentally. And then the absolute sort of shock of the moment when they realize that action was uncalculated is hilarious. Can I retroactively get an ew in? What are we ewing about, by the way? Because I want to be first. If we're playing who is first on the U's, do I have the power to retroactively insert an U? Because I don't like the fact that somebody else was first at being ooh. I look at that guy, Zero Entropy, this ENTP with a big fucking chip on his shoulder. He has so many videos about how INFJ women are terrible and they fuck you over and stuff. It's so clearly generalizing from his own experience, and he should know better. That guy makes me kind of sad. Zero Entropy. It's like, but he also, it's very much there, but for the grace of God, goes I. I could have ended up like Zero Entropy so easily, and that gets back to Email Anthrax's particularism point. If life doesn't, if you don't have luck, if you're not a lucky guy, suffering, abuse, and ill treatment and stuff can cause you to make toxic shit part of your ontology. And it's like, just so I remove the subject from anybody around here, let's talk about Zero Entropy. Zero Entropy has chosen to, in ill-advised fashion, or you think Zero Entropy is an ENFP? I've watched him before, and I was convinced I was actually like, I think, okay, I buy it. He's an ENTP. But that was a long time ago. I haven't watched him in a long time. So, if you're right, Tom Jacobson, that Zero Entropy is an ENFP, then what I'm saying is clearly wrong. But if I'm right and he's an ENTP, then what I'm saying is clearly important. Which is to say that suffering, abuse, shit like that, it can cause you to internalize complaining, basically, as a groupist strategy to push your own suffering further away from you. But it's very ill-advised, because the thing is, it's what I forget how you say that letter. At 740, I'm gonna call it weird looking eye. Weird looking eye says, "Hang on to hope, knowing that ease always follows hardship. It's tough, but we got God and we got each other." I mean, you summed it up really well right there. I like that. Alt. Now, come on. That's a little homophobic. I'm going to go ahead and remove that comment. There's nothing about homosexuals that make them more likely to backstab people, okay? Okay, I stand corrected. Depending on how you mean the word backstab. Now, if you mean it in the sense that gay men are likely to backstab each other, then yes, you're right. But beyond that, I think it's quite unfair. Stop my censorship. Come on, dude. That's just not, it's like, I'm not censoring people. That is not censorship. It's like, I don't need that kind of bullshit in my field of vision. It is America, Alt. It is America. And I am not trying to prevent you from expressing your thoughts, right? But I don't appreciate you using the word faggot, even though I might occasionally use it myself. Why? Well, because there may be people here who are homosexuals, right? And as a consequence, they're probably not going to take very kindly to that. We could throw in comparable slurs and understand that as the case. It's just another form of groupism. It's like, I'm not trying to, first of all, I have no obligation to protect your your speech rights. Your speech rights are freedom from oppression by the government. It doesn't mean you can go into anybody's house and say whatever the fuck you want and then have to tolerate it. All right, fine, I'll live with that one. Alt. Because you could be talking about homogeneous milk. And homogeneous milk is known to backstab. Dolphins rape penguins, and penguins rape dolphins, but they don't rape each other. I mean, they don't rape themselves. That's the weird thing about dolphins and penguins. Dolphins are known as rapey, penguins are known as rapey, and ducks are also known as rapey, but they each rape one of the other circle. It's a love triangle of animal rape. Dolphins rape penguins, who then rape ducks to get back at the penguins, and then the ducks rape the dolphins because they got raped by the penguins. It's a cycle. It's a downward spiral, it's called. But I do like the fact that this is the thing. It is important to remember that ultimately Alt was correct. Gay men are much more likely to backstab each other. Heterosexual men are much more likely than gay men to backstab a woman. But some men, like me, I never backstab. I always front stab my woman. There's two places in the front where I like to stab her. One's at the top of her body, right up here in this area, and one's down here in the front. C.S. Joseph says ENTJs are the most rapey type. It would kind of make sense, I guess. Look, Horse Mumbler, I agree with you and everything. The problem is, if you stick in a comparable racial slur, you can't really win that argument in polite company. It's vulgar, right? If nothing else. So, I mean, that explanation right there, Horse Mumbler, is exactly the same as Axl Rose's explanation when he said, he has that song, don't want to run and got me some slang. Don't need no names, flats, plants in front of my back. You know that song? What is that song called? I'll look at the lyrics to it. Anyway, he uses a racial slur in that song, and his explanation was exactly the same as Horse Mumbler's. Just need my ticket till then. Won't you cut me some slack? 1 in a million. Yeah, so it's in the second stanza. Police and Tiggers, get out of my way. Don't need to buy none of your gold chains today. So, in other words, in this song, Axl Rose is complaining about black people trying to sell him jewelry. When somebody asked him, hey, what's up with the racism? He said, hey, you got to understand, not all black people are Tiggers, and not all Tiggers are black people. Gold chains make a great gift for a really, really good slave. Norm Macdonald. That's hilarious. That is such a good joke. I didn't know Norm Macdonald ever came up with such a good joke. I don't have a lot of respect for Norm Macdonald, frankly, but he deserves it now. He gets respect for that one. That's hilarious. You walked in a strange moment. You're just lucky we're not eating your steak right now, Dustin Salisbury. If you come here 15 minutes sooner, we would have all been eating your steak. Who here prefers Salisbury steak over regular steak? Anybody? You heard him say he was playing a character in the song? Uh-huh. Okay. It's not me. It's just the character is exactly like me, but racist. Yes, I was talking about penguin rape, but remember GS King 2015, it's not that sad because they're not raping each other. They're raping the ducks who are raping the dolphins who are raping the penguins. In an endless circle of toxic animal rape. Debate format tier list? What does debate format tier list mean? The thing is, I'm a big believer in humor, and I'm not worried about humor that's people will normally consider offensive. I typically find offensive stuff funny, like most Christians would probably. I didn't even remember exactly what was so funny about it when I started watching it, but I remember laughing the first time, and I laughed so hard last night when I watched it too. This argon gas thing is called the Book of Christ. It's an infomercial for a new book of the Bible that was written by Jesus himself. It's so fucking hilarious. But, a lot of people who are Christians would probably find it blasphemous, but I don't. I think God highly, highly approves of that hilarity. Okay, Cloud's going to predict Sean Ryan Barron's future partner type and relationship dynamics. I'm going to do that too with the tarot cards. Let's see. What kind of person will Sean Ryan Barron's future partner be? Ooh. I consider this card, Sean Ryan Barron, to be very much linked to T.E. Polar, okay? Because this guy has brought a shovel to rake leaves, and realizing that it's useless, he decided to just pick them up with his hands now. So this would suggest you're going to get with either another INFJ or an ISFJ. Now let's see what the dynamics are going to be like. Oh, you're going to be out there being one of those flamboyant couples. Look at us, look at us. It's just all for FE purposes. Just show everybody else the flag of yourself. Probably won't last very long. No, Lawnmower, that's the thing. If you were being funny, there wouldn't be any problem. You're not being funny. These are magic cards. They're magical tarot cards with the magic of mystical spirituality in them. Yeah, there's a big difference between saying misogynistic stuff that's not funny and saying misogynistic stuff that is funny. Funny excuses you. Not funny fails to excuse you. No, you have. I'm not saying you're. Listen, Lawnmower, I am not trying to condemn you as a human being, okay? At all. My whole point about even addressing this shit, it happened in part because what's her name? Running Fox, because she got upset, and I mean, I don't even know from her. This is just Rachel telling me that she heard that Running Fox got upset. I guess maybe Running Fox knows her from Instagram or something. I don't know. But I thought, okay, look, I'm not doing this to bust Lawnmower. It doesn't matter, Lawnmower. I'm not blaming you for doing anything. I'm just saying that what I'm diagnosing here is you embracing something that's not going to, that you'd be, if somebody were to advise you to embrace it, that person would be giving you bad advice, is the best way to put it. I'm trying to give you some better advice, which says this angle of ontology that you're working here, it has no payoff. There's no payoff to it. It's like the title of this video, Let's Complain. There's no payoff to complaining. There's no payoff to reducing individuals to less complex versions of themselves by saying, you're a part of a group that I dismiss, you know? So when I'm talking about this here, it's sort of maybe on a intellectual level, has to do with framing and preserving the discursive environment so it's safe for everybody to be here. But it really has to do more with, I kind of get you, and I don't want you to be, it's like this pet you've adopted is a parasite, and it's eating away at you. It's not good at all. There's no payoff. Like I said, that's the key thing. There's no payoff. Let's say I was to agree with you there. Let's say everybody here was to agree with you, Lawnmower. Women coming between male friendships again. Same old story. Let's say everybody were to agree with you. There's no payoff there. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing good to come of it. You don't get anything. There's no reward. Again, Lawnmower, what I actually said here is I'm not really motivated by concern for her or even for the community. I'm actually more motivated here to talk about this because I feel like I get you to some extent, and that I'm watching you make a really bad decision in terms of what narratives and angles to work. It's like, this is not a good one. It doesn't pay off. Dismissing people on the basis of group membership is a foundational element of humor. That's true. But, I think that there's lots of, good morning, Running Fox. We were just talking about you. I was just saying how I don't really care about you. Don't worry, Lawnmower. I don't really care about Running Fox. I care about you. Now I'm going to switch gears. Don't worry about Lawnmower, Running Fox. I care about you, Running Fox. Okay? And dismissing people categorically is one of the keys to comedy. The thing is, I think there's different kinds of comedy, right? There's some TE comedy. TE comedy is shit like okay, well, I'm gonna for those of you who've heard this story before, I apologize for repeating it, but I'm gonna tell a story of the time I was riding with my friend Dave Porter in a car, and he was telling me he had chickens, and I said, so what do you do if one of the chickens dies, or do you eat it, or probably you're not going to eat it if it dies of natural causes, right? So he said, no, we don't eat them. Like, well, do you bury them? And he's like, well, no, but I can't bring myself to just throw them in the trash can. So I said, because they're pets, And so I said, okay, well, what do you do then? And he said, well, I get a box, like a large kind of shoebox shaped thing, but bigger. And I put some hay in it, and I lay down the body of the chicken on the hay, and I put the lid on, and I say a few words. And then what do you do? And then I put it in the dumpster. So that's a TE joke, right? It's like he doesn't get that if he wants to avoid putting something in the trash can, that putting it in a box with hay and then putting that box in the trash can does not accomplish that goal. That's TE humor, right? So you can kind of talk about. I should make notes of this when I see him. Every time I think of when I see examples of good humor being clearly an example of meow humor, because there's also plenty of instances of TI humor. TI humor is typically somebody understanding something wrong. Thanks, Alt. Okay, well, Dustin Salisbury, I like the perspective you're adding here. Add a slightly different perspective. And offensive humor tends towards being lazy. It's incredibly easy to get a reaction, plus or minus, by saying something about a sensitive subject. Yeah, well, that's not good. That's not good humor, again. The nice thing about making the standard good humor is bad examples of like shock jock humor don't qualify. Now, one of the things I like to one of the kind of offensive jokes, so to say, the thing that I like to make is just the combination of disparate elements of vulgarity and cherished institutions. So, like, Stuart Johnson, remember that time you came over to my house for Thanksgiving and my grandma left her anal beads in the mashed potatoes? Wasn't that hilarious? You know, like, that's a sort of offensive humor that I tend to go for, right? Because it places in juxtaposition against each other grandma and anal mucus. So that's all. You don't really need much more than those two things right next to each other to get a little bit of hilarity. And some people would find it offensive, I guess, but it's not. I'm sorry, Stuart. My bad. I should not have revealed that. That is part of your own private experience, and that's my bad. You and my grandma had your own thing. I'm not trying to get between you two. So now note the difference between like that kind of offensiveness, which if you were going to say it's grouping anybody and reducing them, you'd say it's taking advantage of people's perceptions of grandmas by positioning her as dramatically different than the normal perception of grandmas, I guess. And then also the part of the humor of it is treating this thing as though it were a casual matter instead of something shocking, right? Like, oh, I'm sorry, did you get a little bit of grandma's anal mucus on you? My bad. This happens sometimes. You know, I'm sure you have comparable experiences. And do I like gilfs? Grandma like the. No, I'm not particularly fond of gilfs. To be perfectly honest, I'm one of those dudes. I'm one of those horrible guys who goes out and gets a girlfriend who's like 14 years younger than him. Well, there are definitely advantages to that. You know, it's like it's when you're 49, when you're 25, you think a 35-year-old woman is going to be kind of old or something. Well, when you're 49, a 35-year-old woman is just tight and fantastic and young and you know. See, I don't think shoving pies in people's faces is funny, and I don't think that's SI funny. I think that's meant to be SE funny. I don't think that. So then, Alt, it's one of two possibilities. I think you meant that to be the joke is that your girlfriend was 3, but it is possible that your girlfriend was 31. You see. That would be a little bit less weird. Yes, SE slapstick humor does not make me laugh. I don't like SE humor. I don't like Three Stooges, like that kind of stupid shit. Yes, I know what a tautology is. It's the study of tater tots. It's the philosophical school that studies tater tots. Just as ontology is the study of identity, and epistemology, the study of knowledge, so too is tautology, the study of tater tots. Well, there is that very famous pornography organization called Brigham Young. Have you ever seen a Brigham Young video? They start by the girl showing like her driver's license that she really is 18. Like, I just turned 18. Yeah. There is that reality of human sexuality that men are attracted to women, and the extent to which their physical appearance suggests fertility more is typically correlates with more attractiveness. So like women are at their most fertile. Yeah, look, I'm not saying it's good, Lawnmower. I'm not approving. Okay, I'm not approving of it. I'm just pointing out that it exists, and that there is this reality that humans have shifted the engagement in relationships, sexual relationships, older by 5 years or so than is naturally occurring. So the most naturally occurring way for humans to mate is to start mating when they hit puberty, 14, 15, you know? And it used to be that that's when people get married. But we understand that we don't want to be so controlled by our biology anymore. Like that to be a fully realized human being means this is about one's reproductive status rather than being choice free. So unfortunately, I am going to have to go right now because I have to go get Delilah from Baldwin Park, drive her back to Arcadia, and get her car from the shop, and then she's got to drive her car around and then take it back to the shop. You're forcing imagery into someone's head, knowing the piece is likely to be partitioned for comfort. What you're doing is SI, the pies of the SE version. I'm not sure what you mean. Your daughter lost another tooth? Does she have scurvy? Arcadia is where I live. Arcadia, California. It's where the Santa Anita racetrack is. They held the 1984 Olympic equestrian events here. Also, the Santa Anita racetrack was a staging ground for Japanese internment camp destination people. Just so that's one of those historical facts about Arcadia, that during World War II, there was a train that came through Arcadia, and they used Santa Anita racetrack over there as a staging area for the Japanese people as they were shipping them up to Manzanar, which is an internment camp here in California. I visited the ruins of it many times because we go to Mammoth. My family's always gone to Mammoth, and it's on the road to Mammoth, Manzanar. It's like up in the valleys right below the Sierra Nevada mountains. It's kind of like deserty area. Anyway. Yeah, okay. I'll buy it, Horse Mumbler. Same with the racetrack near where you live. Your racetrack was also used as an internment camp staging area? How interesting. Do you live near Belmont or something? I wonder what other racetrack. I can figure it out, I'm sure. And that piece of information, I can figure out sort of where you live, probably. I probably won't bother to do it, but, you know. Okay, goodbye, everybody. I love you all.